Hello and welcome back to Sacred Vapes. Channel names to bring you views and experiences of products in the market today, brought to you by an average vapor. Now this video is going to be a little bit different. It's not a review as such. The reviews are coming back hopefully this week. I've got loads to bring to you, but I wanted to do a little video on, it was a big story that broke recently, and unfortunately it's one of those stories that seem to have became a social media sensation. It was the banning of vaping in India. Now, for a population of 1.3 billion people, that was a significant story, and that's a lot of people potentially not being able to vape anymore. But is it that big of a story? I mean, I was watching another YouTuber's video, and the figure he came out with was something like 46 million vapors are now suddenly banned, and companies are suddenly going to start losing millions of pounds because of it. And that's not exactly true. So, I've just been writing an article about it for the Vape Pocket Guide, and I thought I'd do a little video while I've got the stats in front of me, just to be able to talk about why India banning vaping isn't that a big deal. So, before we get going, let's have a quick vape. Old traditions, eh? So yeah, as I stated, 1.3 billion people live in India on average. Recently the financial minister came out and said that they were banning the importation, sales and what's the other one? I can't think of the other one now. Importation, sales and distribution of vaping equipment, e-cigarettes, liquid, all the rest of it. They haven't banned the use of it, but you've got no way of getting it in the country, you've got no way of selling it, and you can, manufacturing as well, that was the other one. So you can't actually sell it, you can't import it, and you can't make it. So pretty much that's vaping banned in India. It's an impossible market. Now, it wasn't an invisible market by any means. There was something like 400, I think it was 432 off the top of my head, like e-liquid companies that existed within India. That might have been the odd manufacturer of products as well. But yeah, Indian market for vaping did actually exist. The thing is, it wasn't exactly legal. The truth is, actually, looking at it, 10 main areas of India, including the likes of Punjab, had actually banned it about 2 years ago. In fact, there's a story out from 2017 that they actually sent someone to prison for 3 years for selling vaping equipment. The government had never actually recognised it as a legal product. It certainly was treated the same way as smoking is, and yet it was never officially legal to sell products. So quite a lot of the market that would have been there would never have been through your bricks and mortar type store. They would have been through maybe backstreet selling instead. I mean, liquid obviously did have some sort of market, but without actually being in India, I can't explain how that was. But essentially, yeah, you did have a market, but it was never officially legal. Big part of India had already banned it. I mean, I don't know how many states are in India off the top of my head, but 10 must be a significant amount of them. And the numbers range from like 1 million population to 100 million population, depending on which one you look at. So yeah, big chunks of the country couldn't get access to it anyway. Now, next point I wanted to go on to was, this is a reactionary ban because of America. Certainly what the financial minister said was that it was to prevent an epidemic for youth vaping, which sounds very much like America. Truth is, again, the story supersedes America by about 3 weeks, give or take, because going back to about the 22nd of August, the story about them banning actually broke. It just never really took anyone's conscience at the time. Done through an emergency order while Parliament was out, which is what ended up happening a month later. So yeah, India were always going to do this. They were always going to put this ban in place well before people suddenly magically got ill from vaping in America, which we've all read about that, and we all have our opinions on it. Let's just leave it as that. So yeah, I keep looking here because I've wrote the stuff down so I can keep track of what I'm saying. So yeah, generally that was India. That was essentially what India was. Now, next point I wanted to move on to was how tobacco relates in India. And this is where it starts to get interesting because, and this is coming from sources that I've looked up on the internet, they do seem to vary in numbers, but within a ballpark. And one site I was looking at from an Indian news site put it down as 86% of tax revenue comes from tobacco products, or legal tobacco products, even though 10% are only smoke, which again I'll get to, but even though you didn't have that many people smoking, it made such a big tax income for the country. So it's natural that Indians want people to start smoking rather than switching over to vaping. So moving on to the next point about that, the export of tobacco. Now, Virginia Tobacco, FCV, if you know what that means, they export 70% of the global tobacco for that company, or at least that tobacco type. 70% of it comes from that country. They own they have a 6% stake in an American, financial interest in tobacco, which doesn't sound a lot, but given that it's an external country, and the rumour is that they're going to grow quite a bit over the future with that, with more quantities being grown, better quality. 6% of a billions of dollars industry is quite a bit of money to be incoming into the country. So if you've got a lot of money coming from the Indians themselves, you've got a lot of money coming from the likes of America, you can see that tobacco is one of their main interests. So next one, move on to now, is, and this is where it's going to start getting interesting, is do Indians actually care about the vaping ban? Now, the figures again seem to vary, but you can put between 120 million Indians to 267 million use tobacco products on a yearly basis. Now, that's a significant amount. That's anywhere between 10 and 20% of the population use tobacco. Next point to move on to is how many people in terms of demographics. 70% of men in the population of India smoke. About 10 to 15% of women smoke, which leaves around 15% of smokers unaccounted for, which power deduction says about 15% of Indian children smoke as well. More scary is that vaping deaths, again a varying figure, but you're looking at anywhere between 900,000 a year to 10 million. Now 900,000 seems to be a more realistic figure, but the 10 million again came from an Indian source. So pick a number between 900,000 and 10 million. That is a serious amount of people dying because of smoking within the country on a yearly basis. It almost suggests for that sheer number of smokers, every time someone dies from smoking, another person has taken it up. So yeah, it's really scary stuff to talk about, how a country like that operates, and they're not the only ones in the world, but that's a whole other video for a whole other time. But yeah, you're looking at it, at least well over 1 million deaths per year. So that's again about 1% of the population, give or take. So realistically, there isn't any actual figures for vapers in the country, but from a lot of the figures that I've seen, ballpark figures, you're looking on an average, if you pull them together, about 3 million people vaped in the country, which is understandable. There was a vaping market with companies and whatever operating in there. So about 3 million vapors. So you think that's a big number. That's a lot. When you actually look at the figures, though, if you look at the average population, that's 0.23% of the population actually vaped, compared to anywhere between 10 to 20% smoking. And maybe you can now see the reason why I've done this video, because the truth is, I don't think the vaping ban in India is as significant as it's been made out to be on social media, on other YouTube channels, all the rest of it. Truth is, it's not going to have a big financial impact on the industry. We're not going to see prices going up. And it is a really sad thing, don't get me wrong. I mean, as a vapor myself, I'd want those 120 million to 200 odd million people having access to vaping. I mean, wouldn't we all? You know, every person that vapes instead of smokes we're saving a life potentially. But yeah, it's absolutely scary stuff when you actually put it all down. And the truth is, I don't think India actually care. You know, large parts of the country, as I say, didn't actually have access to it anyway. They're banning it just for tobacco interests, which you can relate to America there as well. But truth is, this isn't some big, massive story that we should all be worried about. We should be worried about anyone who wants to stop smoking in India, but I don't think that many people actually do. Certainly not for the numbers to make a difference or have a voice for the whole tobacco industry there. So yeah, I'll wrap it up there. As I say, this is all just, it's how you want to perceive it. It's your own opinions, but I just want to deliver some facts about where this about some of the actual realistic information about the story, because as much as we all want to freak out, we all want to be outraged, I really don't think much of the outrage coming from this vaping ban is actually based in India. I genuinely think most of it is based in the UK, on Facebook, on Twitter, where they're just putting 2 and 2 together and hoping to make 4 alongside the American ban as well. So yeah, hopefully you found this video informative. Hopefully it does bring a little bit more truth to it. I say I'm not in the habit of making videos like this, and I probably won't make that many more, but yeah, just I wanted to do a quick video just to go through the facts, to go through the figures, to go through the truth of the matter. And hopefully it does start to bring a little bit of normality to the hysteria that I'd seen grip on social media over the last couple of weeks since the story broke. So yeah, I will be bringing content to you guys, don't you worry about that. The Vape Pocket Guide is up and running again. The next issue's out now. I'm going to be back doing that again, and planning to the Vapes reviews as well. So a little bit of a sell there, but yeah, certainly keep tuned. I will be bringing more content to you and some really interesting products. So as I always say, stay safe and keep vaping.